1.86 radian measure, and the unit circle practice solutions. For 2 through 9, our directions tell us to convert each measure from degrees to radians or from radians to degrees. So for number 2, we're given 30 degrees. We're going to multiply this 30 degrees, or put it over 1, and multiply it by pi over 180. So we're going to be working with 3 and 18. The 3 would become a 1, the 18 would become a 6. So this is just pi over 6 radians. For 3, we have negative 75 degrees. So we're going to put this over 1, and we're going to multiply it by pi over 180. We're going to divide both of these numbers by 5. The 5 goes into 7 once with 2 left over, so 5 goes into 25 5 times, so that's negative 15. The 180 divided by 5, the 5 goes into 18 3 times with 3 left over, and then the 5 goes into 30 6 times. So now we have negative 15 and 36. These are both divisible by 3, so we're going to turn the negative 15 to a 5 and the 36 into a 12. So this is going to be negative 5 pi over 12 radians. For 4, we're given negative 150 degrees, so we're going to put this over 1 and multiply it by pi over 180. I'm going to work with negative 15 and 18, so 3 goes into both. This is going to be a negative 5, this will be a 6, so it's going to be negative 5 pi over 6 radians. For 5, we have 135 degrees, so we're going to put this over 1 and multiply it by pi over 180. I'm going to once again divide these both by 5, so that the 135 divided by 5 goes into 13 twice with 3 left over, 5 goes into 35 7 times. And then the 5 goes into 180 36 times, we said. So then I can divide the 27 and the 36 both by 9. This is going to be a 3, this will be a 4, so this is going to be 3 pi over 4 radians. For 6, I'm given 3 pi over 5, so we're going to turn this into degrees. We're going to have 3 pi over 5 times 180 over pi. Those pi's would cancel out. The 5 becomes a 1, the 180, the 5 goes into 18 3 times with 3 left over, and then 5 goes into 36 times. So we have 3 times 36, which gives us 108. So this is going to be 108 degrees. For 7, we have negative 5 pi over 8, so negative 5 pi over 8 times 180 over pi. Our pi's cancel out. The 8 becomes a 4, the 180 becomes a 90, the 4 is then going to become a 2, then 90 becomes 45. So we have negative 5 over 2 times 45 over 1. The negative 5 times 45 gives us 225, so negative 225 over 2. If we divide the negative 225 by 2, we get 112.5 degrees, negative 112.5 degrees. For 8, we have negative pi over 3, so negative pi over 3 times 180 over pi. Those pi's are going to cancel, so we're going to be working with 1 and negative 1, and then that 3 becomes a 1, making the 180 a 60. So this is just negative 60 degrees. For 9, we have 4 pi over 9, so we're going to multiply this by 180 over pi. Those pi's cancel out. Then 9 becomes a 1, making the 180 a 20. So we have 4 times 20, which is 80 degrees. For our next part, we are using the unit circle to find the exact value of each trigonometric function. We're doing this for 10 through 13 as well as 27 through 30. So I have imported in a unit circle for us to use, and we're going to use this for all of the rest of the questions. So for 10, 11, 12, 13, 27, 28, 29, and 30, we want to remember that sine is y, cosine is x, tangent is y over x. If you were working with the inverses of these, your cosecant would be 1 over y, your secant would be 1 over x, and your cotangent would be x over y. So for sine, we're working with y. We have 150 degrees, so we're going to find the 150 degrees, which is here, and we're going to use the ordered pair that it gives us. So that's going to be negative square root 3 over 2, 1/2. If we are working just with the sine, we're taking just the y value, not the x, the y value from this ordered pair. So the sine of 150 degrees is equal to 1/2. For 11, we have the tangent of 315 degrees. Remember, tangent is y over x, so y divided by x. For 315, we are going to use the square root 2 over 2 and the negative square root 2 over 2. So our ordered pair that we have is the square root of 2 over 2, comma, negative square root 2 over 2. We're going to divide these two, so we're going to do negative square root 2 over 2 divided by square root 2 over 2. So keep, change, flip. This is going to become the negative square root 2 over 2 times 2 over the square root of 2. These are all going to become 1s. So it's just negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1. So the the tangent of 315 degrees is equal to negative 1. Our cotangent of 11 pi over 6, we're going to get by doing x over y. 11 over 6 is this here, so we're going to use the ordered pair square root 3 over 2, comma, negative 1/2. So x divided by y, so we're going to do negative 1/2. We're going to rewrite this. Negative 1/2 divided by square root 3. X divided by y. X divided by y. So square root 3 over 2 divided by negative 1 over 2. So keep, change, flip. This is going to be the square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. Keep the 2 negative. Those 2's are going to become 1s. So we have negative 1 times the square root of 3, which is just negative square root 3. So the cotangent of 11 pi over 6 is equal to the negative square root 3. For 13, we have the cosine, so that's x of 2 pi over 3. 2 pi over 3 is here, so we're going to use this ordered pair, the negative 1/2, comma, square root 3 over 2. Negative 1/2, comma, square root 3 over 2. So our x value from this is just the negative 1/2. So the cosine of 2 pi over 3 is equal to negative 1/2. For 27, we're going to work with the tangent of 300 degrees. So 300 degrees is this 1/2, comma, negative square root 3 over 2. So 1/2, comma, negative square root 3 over 2. We're working with tangent, so that is y divided by x. So we're going to do the square root of 3, the negative square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Keep, change, flip. So negative square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. Those 2's are going to become 1s, so this is just the negative square root 3. So we have the tangent of 300 degrees is equal to the negative square root of 3. For 28, we have the sine of 120 degrees. So 120 degrees is, once again, that negative 1/2 square root 3 over 2. So negative 1/2, comma, square root 3 over 2. Our sine is just the y value. So that's going to be the square root 3 over 2. So sine of 120 degrees is equal to the square root of 3 over 2. For 29, we're working with 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 is, where did you go? Right here. So we're going to work with this negative square root 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Negative square root 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Cosine is x. So our only value here, that's our answer, is that negative square root 3 over 2. So cosine of 5 pi over 6 is equal to the negative square root 3 over 2. And lastly, we're working with pi over 3. So pi over 3 is here. That's the ordered pair 1/2, comma, square root 3 over 2. So 1/2 square root 3 over 2. Our sine is, our secant, we're working with secant here. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so that's 1 over x. So we're going to do 1 divided by that x value, which is 1/2. So we're going to keep, change, flip. This is going to give us 1 times 2 over 1, or just 1 times 2, which is 2. So the secant of pi over 3 is equal to 2.